Hello, home bakers. Welcome back to the Back to Baking series, the series that takes the mystery and the misery out of cake baking. I'm Dr. Mummycakes, and today we're going to be doing something that most people skip. We're learning how to actually read a cake recipe because I know that you can read, and I'm not going to teach you how to read. We're going to learn how to actually read and understand what a cake recipe is asking us for. A cake recipe is like a map taking you from point A to point B. If you read and study it properly, then you understand what you need to do and you can get to where you need to be quickly, efficiently, and stress free. If you don't, you might get to where you want to be, but you might have to take a lot of details, a lot of wrong turns, and end up really stressed. Or, worst case scenario, you might not get to where you are. So, if you've been having cake disaster, maybe it's because you've not been reading the cake recipes properly. Anyway, by the end of this video, you're not going to be making all those silly mistakes and you'll be well on your way to baking success. Believe it or not understanding, not reading your cake recipe properly is one of the commonest reasons why cakes fail. So don't worry, in this video, we are going to learn how to properly read a cake recipe. Grab a recipe, grab a cup of tea, have a seat, let's have a chat. This is going to change things for you. At the end of this video, you're going to be so confident and so much better. You're going to go out there in your kitchen, whip up a nice, delicious cake. Okay, rule number one. Read the entire recipe before you even pick up a single egg. This is non-negotiable. Don't skim, don't bake and read as you go. No, 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 no. Before you even do anything, have a look at the recipe. Read all the steps. Because you don't want to be halfway through the mixing process and then you realize that actually the recipe says to use cold milk and you're using room temperature milk because by then you're halfway making your batter and you might not be able to undo that because baking is a science. You get some steps wrong, there may be no rescuing your cake and you've wasted your time, energy, and money. So read the recipe first so you know exactly what it's asking you to do. Let's talk ingredients. Look at the ingredient list. It's more than just a shopping list. It tells you what you need. First of all, do you have enough of all the ingredients? Have a look. If the recipe says you need 6 eggs, make sure that you check and see that you actually have 6 eggs. Otherwise, you might have to go on a shopping trip midway through baking. That's not really nice or fun. Look at the temperature. Does it want you to use softened butter or cold butter? And with temperature of ingredients, you need to get the ingredients to that temperature first before measuring. So, for example, if your recipe says use room temperature butter, don't go and measure cold butter and then wait for it to get to room temperature. No, get it to room temperature first and measure because it can make a difference. Especially, for example, it's saying you need X amount of melted butter. If you take cold butter and then you melt it, it's not going to be the same. So make sure that you understand what ingredients it's asking you for, that you have enough, and that they are at the right temperature before you even bring out your mixer. Look at the specifics of the ingredients. What type of flour is it asking you to use? Self-raising flour is not the same as plain flour. Don't worry if you don't know the difference between the different ingredients. We are going to get to that in this Back to Basics series. And that's why I encourage you to hit that subscribe button now so that you don't miss any episodes of this amazing series. So know exactly what it's asking you for. If your recipe is asking you for vanilla bean paste versus vanilla extract, do you know what the difference is? Is it interchangeable or not? These are the things that you need to understand in your recipe. And make sure you measure them accurately so that you're using exactly the right quantity of ingredients because that makes a huge difference in your baking. The other reason why you should read your recipe before you start is because then you can know what tools that you need. There's nothing worse than finding out midway that actually you need a particular tool that you do not have, because then how do you rectify that? Also, you get some clues from the recipe whether or not you can make do without some certain tools. So, for example, in my Italian meringue buttercream, which by the way is absolutely delicious, you have to mix the meringue for about 15 to 20 minutes with a stand mixer. So you know when you read the recipe or when you watch the recipe video all the way to the end, you know that if you don't have a stand mixer and you only have a hand mixer, or if you're mixing by hand, then perhaps making Italian meringue buttercream is not the right option because it's hard to make without a stand mixer. So when you look at the recipe and you see how long it says to mix certain ingredients, you'll know whether you can make that ingredients without the right tools. If it says whisk your egg, then do you have a whisk? These are the things to look out for. So make sure that you know what tools that you need for the recipe and get them out ready to go right at the start of your baking process. Okay, so you know what ingredients to use, we know the steps. Let's decode the instruction a little bit more. Let's break down a typical method. So the recipe might say cream the butter and sugar until light and fluffy. Now, when it says that, it's not asking you to just give it a quick stir. No. Creaming is a process that incorporates air into the mixture. So creaming, first of all, takes a couple of minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, and it's quite a vigorous process because you want to incorporate a lot of air into that mixture. So at the end, you have a mixture that is increased in volume and it's much paler. So that's how to properly cream your ingredients. Look at the last lines, don't skim on it. It's very important. It tells you what temperature to set your oven. It tells you how long your cake is going to bake. Like, don't be like me when I made a cake that was actually going to be baking for an hour and 20 minutes. And then I had to pick up my kids within 45 minutes. And I was just like, oh my goodness, if I had known that this cake was going to take that long to bake, then I perhaps would have done it a different time. So, know how long your cake is going to bake so that you can plan for that. Also, look at the instructions. Some cakes will tell you to take them out of the baking tin straight away. Others will say, allow it to cool in the tin. Others will say, let it cool for 10 minutes and bring it out. These instructions make a big difference. If you don't follow them, then all that hard work can be ruined because you didn't follow the very last section of the instructions. Here and some extra tips because I'm so passionate about making you bake like a pro. Write down and highlight tricky steps. Write down things, what worked, what you found out. So the next time you make the cake, it will be a lot easier. Prep your ingredients before you start. This makes things so much easier. In fact, lots of pro bakers use this to ensure that the baking process is seamless. So they get everything out, measured, prepared. So if the recipe says, separate your egg white from your egg yolk, you've done that already. If you need to sieve your flour, you've sieved your flour. You need to cut your butter into cubes, you've done all that, everything is ready to go. And you just have to just bake nice and easy, no stress. And finally, if it's a new recipe, give yourself plenty of time so you're not rushing, and don't multitask. That's a recipe for disaster. So no chatting to your friend on the phone when you're baking, or running around with your kids, or doing other things, because chances are you'll miss a step, you'll get something wrong, and bam, cake disaster. So there you have it. Baking is like learning a new language. But once you know how to read your recipe, you will feel so much more confident. Hit that like button if you've ever messed up a recipe, you've been there, or if you're in a sharing mood. I'd love to learn from your experiences, and actually lots of other viewers can learn from your experiences, so that we can learn from each other and be pro bakers together. And please subscribe for more beginner friendly basics, and also so that you do not miss out on any episodes of my amazing Back to Basics series. So thank you for watching. If you've got any questions, comments, put it in the comment section. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. Okay, that's me done for now. Till I see you on the next episode or on my next video. Happy baking!